Hey guys, today is July 10th, Wednesday, July 10th. Yesterday I made a video and I told you that if you wanted me to make a video about my opinion on adoption and all that stuff, that I would make a video. And everybody that commented was like, yeah, make that video, and so I'm gonna make that video. Okay, so I don't know how long this video is gonna be. My phone only uploads videos in 10-minute increments, so if it has to be more than one part, I apologize, but I'll try to talk fast. Another thing is, this is all kind of like, not controversy, but it's not like, you're gonna find lots of people that have different opinions on this than I do, so I just want to be clear that, my hair is sticking out, I just want to be clear that this is my opinion, and it's based on my experiences and the research that I've done and the things that I've been told from people that have done research. So, I'm not saying that my way is, my opinion and stuff is totally right, but, of course I think it's right, but, you know. Okay, so, I will just start by telling you my adoption story. It's not very long. I was adopted when I was born. The end. Basically my parents had, for whatever reason, decided to adopt children as opposed to having their own. And I'm not actually certain on the reason. I'm not sure if it's because they wanted to or if because they were unable to have children biologically or what, but for whatever reason, adoption was the option. And so my mom found out about me through an acquaintance of some, like, at a doctor's office or something, about a mom that was going to give birth to a baby and wanted to give it up. I don't really know. I wasn't there. Not really. And I see hair. Sorry. And so I don't know what happened after that, but somehow it became the fact that my mom and dad were going to adopt the baby when it was born. And that baby was me. And so on July 24th, 1987, my mom got a phone call at work saying that that the birth mother was in labor, and so she like rushed to the hospital and waited and waited and waited and waited, and then finally I was born at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But she couldn't see me right away. Well, she could see me, but not when I was born. She wasn't there in the room when I was born, but she was like in the hospital. And so she went to this place where she could see me through a window because there was something wrong with me. So they had to test my glucose. Like, I think they do that for every baby, but there's something wrong with mine. But they poked me in the heel with a needle. And I guess so that was when my mom first saw me, was getting poked, but I didn't really do anything. I was just like, whatever. And then eventually they brought her out and she got to hold me, and I was little, and I guess the nurse was holding me, and my mom was like, can I touch her? Like, she was afraid that I would like break or something. So anyway, then they brought me home after a while, and then I had to stay in the hospital for a couple days, and then they brought me home, and then a couple months later, I want to say it was like sometime in the fall, they went to the courthouse with me, and I was in this little dress, and like we have pictures of it and stuff, for my adoption hearing, and then I was adopted. Like, legit adopted. I was already adopted, but it was legal and stuff. And that was it. And now I'm going to be 26 in a couple weeks, and I've been adopted all this time, and, so, alright, let me put it this way. When somebody gives birth to a baby, usually what happens is they give birth and then they put the baby right here. And part of why that's good is, you know, because they have to put the baby somewhere because it's still attached to the mom, so they can't like rush it away quickly because it's still stuck there by the umbilical cord. But also because when you're in the uterus as a baby, when you were all in the uterus, unless you were born in a test tube, you heard stuff. You heard your mother's voice. You heard, and by mother, I'm saying person that carried you, okay? So just to make it faster, I'm not going to say birth mother, birth mother. So you heard your mother's voice, you heard her heartbeat, you heard the sound of the blood rushing in her aorta all the way down past you. You felt the way she walked, and you smelled her. I guess babies can smell in the uterus, which is kind of strange because they can't breathe, but anyway, I've heard that. But mostly you hear stuff, and you hear all these things that become familiar. So then when you're born, which I can't imagine is a pleasant experience, like, just take a second, if you need to, pause the video, and think about what that would be like. I think it's very good that we don't remember being born, because I can't imagine that's very fun. So then you're put there, and then you're like, oh my god, what just happened? I got squeezed through a tiny opening, and now everything is really bright, and really loud, and smells weird, and I don't know what's going on. And then you hear this heartbeat, and you go, oh, that's familiar. And then you hear this blood rushing, and you go, oh, that's familiar too. And then you hear a voice that's familiar, and you're like, okay, everything's okay. And then the babies kind of calm down a little, because, I mean, you're crying because you just got squeezed through a 10-centimeter hole. Ow! For everyone involved. So, anyway. But, that didn't happen for me. I got born and then taken away right away. So I was like, I don't remember this, of course, but it must have been really scary, because babies can't, like, process, you know? They don't have language skills, but that doesn't mean that they can't think, right? So babies can think, and must be really confusing in there. So babies that are adopted sometimes are put there and sometimes they're not. And I have the hiccups. I'm trying to hold the hiccups back. And so that happened. I just realized that window's wide open, but there's nobody out there. That happened, and it's really, like, nowadays people are doing research and they're calling it a trauma. But I can't explain why not all adopted kids are like this. Like, growing up, my best friend was adopted, and she didn't have any of the same kinds of issues that I had growing up, like, with fearing abandonment. Every time my parents would leave me with a babysitter, I would, like, and I was a really tough kid in some ways. Like, I wouldn't cry in front of people, but I'd go to bed and cry, because I was sure they were never coming back. And, like, when my sister was born, she was adopted too. When she was born, it was a little better, because, at least then, like, if something horrible happened, I wouldn't be alone. You know, like, I would have been, because I was convinced my parents were going to, like, get in a car accident, or that they were just never going to come back because they didn't want to, or whatever. And, but, like, my best friend never had any of that. She never had any of that anxiety like I did, regarding abandonment and being left alone and, all that stuff. But I did, and, ooh, don't fall. My phone wants to fall off of where I have it. So, nowadays they're calling it a trauma. Not always, but, it's kind of like, alright, we're at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to stop this and make a part 2, because I can't finish this in, you know, a minute and a half. So, hang on, go to part 2 of this video, because it's important. Okay.